Hello and welcome to another video on the Duolingo English test. Well, in our today's lecture, we will be focusing on the question types in the Duolingo English test. But before, we have to note that the Duolingo English test is mostly a computer adaptive test, which we call CAT. We call it computer adaptive test because the questions will get harder as long as the test taker continues to perform well in the test. Well, this means that all of the questions will be chosen based on the test taker's past performance or past responses. So, for example, if you're performing well or excellent, the questions will get harder that much. So that's what we have to keep in mind that, this test not totally, but half of the test is adaptive, and that's a very important thing we have to know about the Duolingo English test. Well, the next thing is about the types of the questions that will appear in the Duolingo English test. Well, totally we have 10 types of the questions, and we have two additional that are the sample questions at the end of the test, which are not scored. I'll be talking about them later on. Well, this table is clearly giving you the information about the types of the questions and how many times they're repeated, like the frequency, if they're adaptive or not, and what ability they exactly test. Well, the first step of the question is read and complete, which will be repeated 5 to 7 times, and it's adaptive. It will test our comprehension ability. Read and select is the next type. It's repeated 5 to 7 times during the test, and then we have listen and select, same times, and listen and type 5 to 7 times. It's repeated. Then we have read aloud. Well, I'm only giving you the names of the questions here. In the next video that I'll be preparing, I'll be talking about each of them in detail, each type of the questions in detail. The next type is write about the photo, which will be repeated 3 times. It's not adaptive. Well, this kind of question will be the same for all levels of test takers, either excellent test takers or the low-level test takers. This kind of question will be examining your production, like what level of language do you produce in your writing. The next type of question is read and then write, which will be repeated once, only once that'll come. It'll be testing your production as well. Then we have speak about the photo. It comes once, it's not adaptive, and it's in form of a conversation. Well, we call it in conversation form because you speak about a photo. Well, there's a kind of communicating the language and producing the language to describe a picture. The next type is read then speak, and the next type is listen then speak, which will be repeated once or twice during the test. Well, based on the ability that the test questions are testing, we're dividing all types of questions, like the 10 types of questions, into 2 categories. There are some questions that they will be examining or testing your comprehension ability, like the reading and listening. And there are types of questions that they will be examining your production, like there are going to be question types that they involve writing and speaking. So we divide all of the questions based on the ability they test into 2 categories as comprehension and production. Well, there is a common question that how many questions will appear in the Duolingo English test, like how many in number do we have the questions and in what order will they come? So this is a common question. This table is going to answer your question. Well, we have around about 12 types of questions as following, you can see, and there will be 40 questions out of all these types. Like we have 10 types, 12 types, and then we will have 40 questions out of them. Like if each of these types are repeated several times, so the total number will be 40 questions during the whole 1 hour test. So they will appear in this way as you see the table. So most of the time the test will start with the read and complete, read and select, listen and type, or read aloud. And in the middle you will have the write about the photo, read then write, speak about the photo, and at the end